A lot has been said about what the future of cricket will look like, and one of the men who's recently weighed in on this particular debate is none other than former England captain Andrew Strauss. Now, Strauss was the main speaker at the MCC's Cordray lecture, and he's had a lot of things to say regarding not just the future of the sport in terms of how it will look, but also what dressing rooms should look like and other such things. There's a lot of interesting things he said, and one of them actually pertains to the Indian Premier League, or the IPL for short. Now, according to Strauss, the IPL, and these are his words, not mine, will become the biggest league on the planet. Again, I'm not kidding. This is exactly what he said. He said that the value of the IPL is likely to be 6 times what it is going forward, and this is going to be the biggest domestic sporting tournament in the world, bar none. Now, that is his big prediction, and of course, this prediction is not just something that he's saying off the back of his head. He said very clearly that India's economic growth in the future, he talks about how it will be projecting and when it will reach the levels of, say, the US. And he said that when that does in fact happen, it will become the world's biggest league in terms of valuation of the league. He believes it will supersede leagues like the MLB, the NFL, the Premier League. All of the big leagues in the world will be dwarfed in comparison when it comes to money, the monetary value of a league. The IPL will leave them all behind. Now, it's a bold prediction for sure, but I mean, rights fees and things like that can't really be predicted. So who knows? The former England captain might have a point, and it's pretty ironic in some ways considering Strauss was at the helm of English cricket when English cricket had a very anti-IPL stance. So you wouldn't see too many English players. Obviously, that's changed a lot in recent times. But to go from that to then this, it's a complete U-turn, but again, one that is entirely expected considering the growth the IPL's had over the years. Now, this of course wasn't the only thing he had to talk about. He even spoke about the women's IPL and what that will do for the sport of women's cricket in particular. Here's what he said. He said that the first women's IPL's franchises have just been sold for a massive fee, and women's cricket is truly standing on its own 2 feet and is likely to be in the top 3 sports for earning potential. Now, again, this might seem like a bit of a tall statement, but women's cricket has grown leaps and bounds in the past 5 to 10 years. So it wouldn't exactly be shocking considering that, as people said, there's a lot of potential in the sport. There's a potential to, attract newer fans and create a new fan base. So in that sense, especially considering the amount of money that's thrown around in cricket, might very well be on target here as well. Of course, these weren't the only things he had to talk about. He had another very interesting thing to talk about, and that is, of course, the future of cricket, or the future of Test cricket. He said very clearly that, look, I firmly believe that the Test series that capture our imaginations today, the ones that we really look forward to, aren't going anywhere. Now, that is an interesting thing for him to say because, again, in recent times, England have actually kind of made watching Test cricket fun again. And Strauss did name check the baseball style that England play and the kind of approach they've had under Brendan McCullum as coach and Ben Stokes as captain. So he did mention a lot about that, but he does also believe that there will in fact be, some repercussions for the longer format of the game. In fact, one of the things he said that it's inevitable that some old institutions might creak at the seams, including some debt-laden governing bodies. So this is a rather grim prediction, admittedly, but it is something that we're seeing happen now. You see that some cricketing bodies or governing bodies are much stronger financially, and historically they're well off as compared to other ones. So a good example, of course, would be the Cricket South Africa, who in fact have launched the SA20 in part to actually increase the earning potential that they have from the sport. Other boards are also mired in money issues, so he does believe that there's going to be something like that happening where you'll see a lot of these older institutions actually crumble under financial pressure. Of course, that isn't the only thing he's talked about with regards to the future of cricket. One very interesting thing that he talks about, and it's interesting keeping the entire Yorkshire scandal that has engulfed the English domestic game in mind. This is what he had to say. He said that as we move forward and the macho and perhaps at times verging on bullying dressing room banter will need to be softened to a culture that is tolerant, understanding and welcoming. Now again, as I said, considering what has been happening in Yorkshire cricket and the fact that today the English cricket team is probably more diverse than it ever has been, with a number of people from very, very different backgrounds, Strauss's comments come at a very interesting time. And don't forget, Strauss himself was someone who did have a lot of players from minority origins part of the team, and he was also overlooking English cricket at a time when it was going through a major transition from them being also-rans in white ball cricket to potentially becoming the team that of course now is dominating white ball cricket. So pretty interesting thing for him to say, but not entirely surprising considering the multicultural makeup of not just the England team, but really teams around the world who are welcoming people from all stratas of life and of course, various ethnic groups. So this is an interesting thing for him to say. And he did also say that, players need to get more sensitive about the kind of jokes they make, because anything that has racial undertones will just not be considered acceptable. So players need to be careful and be sensitive. And that's a lot of the things that he talked about, really. As I say, it was an interesting talk to hear. And these were my favorite parts of the conversation. What do you guys think was the most interesting or noteworthy part? Well, you can let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon so you know when it is we're going live or uploading a new video. And also don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Last but not least, don't forget to download the Sports Tech app. Thank you all for joining us. I hope to see you with us on more videos.